The movie starts with a breathtaking cafe that serves delicious food and is run by attractive waiters and chefs. However, this isn't an ordinary cafe, it's the Cafe of Angels, a place where angels who have been punished for their wrongdoings help humans with their problems. This unique cafe isn't located in the human world, but in a different dimension, and only selected humans with invitation cards can dine here. It's called Soul Plate. On the other hand, there's a little girl who sees an adult man in front of her. She smiles sweetly and gently touches the man's cheek, even though his face remains unclear to her. Later on, a lovely girl named Supia wakes up from her sleep, realizing that the little girl from her dream was just a product of her imagination. Supia is a young farmer who works hard on her grandfather's farm. One day her grandfather had to go to the hospital, so he left her a letter with a special task. He asked Supia to continue his work every Wednesday night because they would receive orders for their fruits and vegetables at that time. Her grandfather wanted her to carefully select the best produce and deliver it directly to their customers. He also gave her a beautiful necklace as a token of his trust. At midnight on a Wednesday, Supia received an order from a cafe called Soul Plate. The next day, she picked the requested fruits and vegetables and personally delivered them to the cafe. Meanwhile, in the Soul Plate cafe, the angels received a notification about an incoming order, indicating that a chosen human would be coming. The angels were a bit puzzled because the ingredients for the food had not arrived yet. Using Google Maps, Supia eventually found her way to Soul Plate. When she arrived, the angels were relieved to see her. One of the angels, named Muriel, was captivated by Supia's beauty. However, Supia remained composed and asked for their assistance with the delivery. Little did she know that she had entered a different dimension and was interacting with angels. Shortly after that, an angel named Raviel became upset with Supia. He questioned how a regular human like her could be in this place. Supia was confused by Raviel's words because she thought this was just an ordinary cafe. Then she suddenly remembered her dream of the man with a faintly visible face, who looked like Raviel. She was about to ask Raviel if they knew each other when he abruptly grabbed the necklace her grandfather had given her. Raviel then asked her how she got that necklace. To Supia's surprise, the necklace was something only angels possessed. Seeing Raviel's reaction, she became annoyed and explained that it was a gift from her grandfather. Muriel took the necklace from Raviel and returned it to Supia, advising her to take good care of it since there was only one like it in the world. Thanks to the necklace, Supia could freely enter this dimension. After the initial tense encounter, she introduced herself properly when things had calmed down. Supia stated that she would now take over her grandfather's job of delivering food to Soul Plate. However, Raviel, the head chef of the cafe, ignored her and left abruptly. Muriel, who was naturally friendly and flirtatious, warmly welcomed Supia. As she was about to leave, Supia took a moment to observe the atmosphere of the cafe. She silently thought that this place seemed like a playground for wealthy people. Unexpectedly, Raviel reappeared and clarified that the cafe was not just for rich people's children. Supia was surprised because she had only thought that to herself. She asked once more if they had met before, and Raviel firmly stated that they had never crossed paths in the past in her dreams or in the future. As Supia drove back, she couldn't shake off her thoughts about Raviel's strange remark. She wondered why he had said they wouldn't meet in the future. After all, nobody can predict what the future holds. Meanwhile, there was a couple in the car behind her, and they were the chosen ones to dine at Cafe Soul Plate. They were having a heated argument and didn't notice Supia's car in front of them. Their cars were about to collide, and in that moment of fear and resignation, they both screamed. Surprisingly, they survived the collision because it happened right at the dimensional border. After checking themselves, they were bewildered because they expected a crash and hadn't seen any other cars there. Eventually, the couple arrived at Soul Plate. Angel Ariel welcomed them and asked for their invitation. The woman felt frustrated, thinking her boyfriend was taking her to a fancy restaurant. Similarly, the man believed Soul Plate was a special place due to the invitation. However, they found it to be just a cafe. Their relationship was also strained from dating for a long time and growing tired of each other. Ariel handed them a menu with only one recommended item: tteokbokki and some side snacks. They had no choice but to order it. Raviel, the head chef, didn't take long to prepare their order. When the dishes arrived at their table, the woman was in a bad mood and didn't feel like eating. She couldn't believe they were served street food at a cafe, even though the tteokbokki looked fancy. The man was also disappointed but decided to give it a try since it was already served. As he took the first bite, memories of his past with his girlfriend flooded back. She used to make tteokbokki with strawberry jam for him when they were abroad, as he didn't like spicy food. Realizing the taste was identical, he shared it with his girlfriend, and they reminisced happily about those times. They laughed and decided to cook this dish together in the future. In the end, they understood that feeling bored in a long-term relationship was normal, and they only needed to cherish their beautiful memories to overcome it. They agreed to stay together and live happily, resolving their issues and making the angels at Cafe Soul Plate happy too. On the other hand, Supia asked one of her grandfather's colleagues about Cafe Soul Plate, but they had no knowledge of it, leaving Supia even more puzzled. She later discovered that her grandfather had been supplying the cafe with their products for free, adding to her confusion. Not long after, another order arrived from Soul Plate at midnight on Wednesday, and Supia headed to the cafe once more the next day. However, this time, she didn't wear her grandfather's necklace due to Raviel's strange reaction the last time she wore it. At the dimensional border, her car suddenly stopped working, and despite her attempts to fix it, it remained unresponsive. Moments later, the car's engine started again, and Supia accidentally hit the gas pedal, causing her to enter a different dimension abruptly. The experience was so jarring that Supia fainted, as her journey without the necklace was far from smooth. While unconscious, Supia dreamt of the little girl again, but this time, her dream had a slight variation. In this dream, the little girl encountered a strange transparent wall. Upon waking up, Supia found herself back at Soul Plate, where the angels had brought her. Upon regaining consciousness, Muriel asked Supia why she wasn't wearing her necklace. Still feeling confused, Supia remained silent, and the angels prepared some food to help her recover. Surprisingly, they served her favorite soup, which puzzled Supia as she wondered how they knew her preferences. Angel Muriel, who had feelings for Supia, decided to lie, claiming that he had personally cooked the soup. In reality, the soup was just an instant dish commonly available in South Korea, something anyone, including angels, could prepare. However, Muriel had told a lie, and as a consequence, his entire body began to itch, serving as a punishment for angels who deceived others. As Supia was preparing to leave, Raviel arrived and placed the necklace around her neck, surprising her with its presence. Unbeknownst to Supia, Raviel had journeyed to the human world to retrieve the necklace for her. Shortly afterward, another woman entered Soul Plate, frustrated and upset, while talking on the phone about her ailing mother in the hospital. Angel Ariel approached her and offered a glass of soju, and the angels served her a comforting bowl of seaweed soup with meat topping. The taste immediately transported the woman back to her youth, when her mother used to prepare the same dish. It reminded her of the kindness her mother had shown her during her childhood. Overwhelmed by guilt, the woman confessed her shortcomings, regretting not being able to care for her mother properly as she aged. However, her mother unexpectedly appeared before her, forgiving her daughter and urging her not to cry anymore. Strangely, moments later, the woman received a phone call confirming her mother's passing, leaving her puzzled as her mother had just stood in front of her. Her mother had disappeared after their final meeting, and although the woman felt sad, she also found solace in having had the chance to apologize. Later on, the angels gathered for a meal together. Shortly after, Supia returned with a newfound recollection of her past. She realized that the dream of the little girl was not a dream but a forgotten childhood memory. Supia began to question the true identity of the angels. Her inquiries angered Raviel, who used his powers to touch her forehead, erasing her memories once more. Supia was then sent back a few hours earlier, to the moment when she had fainted at the dimensional border, and she once again forgot all the previous events. Supia had just finished harvesting fruit in her garden when she suddenly felt a bit lightheaded, and vague memories of Raviel came rushing back to her. Unfortunately, she fainted, but as she lost consciousness, she began to dream. In her dream, Raviel's face became clear, and she saw him both as a little girl and an adult. When she eventually woke up, Supia found herself pondering the dream and its connection to the real world. Unexpectedly, her grandfather appeared beside her. He began to explain that Soul Plate had originally been a refuge for angels. Angels, being ethereal beings without physical form, would occasionally inhabit human bodies to experience the sensations and emotions of humans. They could eat, drink, and even explore the depths of love. However, some angels grew complacent with these newfound experiences, leading them to incur God's wrath. These angels were subsequently stripped of their celestial powers and transformed into full-fledged humans. As it turned out, Supia's grandfather was one of these angels who had been punished, leading to his human existence. This revelation meant that Supia, as his descendant, possessed the ability to see angels. Throughout her childhood, Supia had often played with Ravio, which was unusual because he remained invisible to regular humans, causing others to believe Supia was playing alone. As she grew older, a deep love blossomed between Supia and Ravio, and they made a promise to marry each other someday. Unfortunately, this romantic connection angered God, who deemed such relationships between humans and angels forbidden. In response, God erased their memories of each other and sentenced Ravio to work at Soul Plate as part of his punishment. Back in the present at Soul Plate, the angels were on the brink of being freed from their punishment. In a surprising turn of events, the person who entered was Supia, who had regained her memories. Supia embraced Ravio in front of the other angels, pretending that Ravio resembled her past lover to avoid raising suspicions among them. Shortly after, an invitation to dine appeared in Supia's hand, making her the final guest for the angels to serve. They prepared a fruit salad for Supia, naming it God's menu. The fruits in the salad were the same ones that Ravio and Supia had enjoyed in their past. Supia didn't need to recollect them because she remembered everything about their past together. Unexpectedly, Ravio had also retained his memories of Supia since her first arrival at Soul Plate. However, he kept this to himself, fearing a harsher punishment from God. Ravio was afraid that he might lose the chance to see Supia again if he faced a new penalty. Supia told the other angels that her former lover had no regrets about her. This revelation angered the angels, who couldn't believe that Supia's ex had no remorse after leaving her. In truth, the other angels were ready to take her ex's life before returning to heaven, unaware that the ex Supia referred to was Ravio. While the angels were embroiled in a heated argument, Supia and Ravio exchanged knowing glances and smiled because they could now be together once more. Not long after, in their next lives, Supia became an angel, and Ravio was reborn as a human guest at Soul Plate. Their love rekindled, and they believed that their deep connection would unite them in any form, whether in this life or the next. It was a testament to the power of love and destiny. Moral lesson from the story: even in the most heavenly mix-ups, true love always finds its way back, even if it means confusing angels and fancy street food along the journey.